feelings. And here to react to all of this and big breaking news, Article 3 Project founder, former chief counsel for nominations of the State Judiciary Committee, your favorite lawyer, Mike Davis is back with us. Mike, thanks for being on the program. A lot going on today. Just first, if I can get your reaction to today's arraignment, take us through the indictment, weaknesses, strengths, if any, the statutes at play, and whether or not you think this is reckless. I know you predicted we'd see this exact type of multi-front lawfare.
Yeah, Kimberly, we've been talking about this for a year, since the Mar-a-Lago raid last August, and this is Democrat lawfare to take out President Trump because they fear they can't beat him in November 2024. It started with Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, Soros-funded Manhattan DA, indicting President Trump, the first time a former president has been indicted, for the non-crime of a businessman settling a nuisance claim. And then we saw Jack Smith indict President Trump for the non-crime of a former president having his presidential records, which is allowed by the Presidential Records Act. And now Jack Smith, all driven by Merrick Garland and Joe Biden, they're indicting President Trump for the non-crime of objecting to a presidential election, which is only illegal in third world Marxist hellholes. That's Democrats objected to Republican presidential wins in 1968, 2000, 2004, 2016. They weren't charged with anything, and they should not be, because that is protected by the Electoral Count Act of 1887. Twisting arms politically is also protected by the First Amendment. You're going to see Fulton County, Georgia, DA Fannie Willis likely this month also charged President Trump for non-crimes related to January 6th. And finally, you saw Tish James, the New York Attorney General, charging Trump for fraud, for the non-fraud of paying back sophisticated banks in full with interest. This is lawfare to try to take out President Trump.
And what exactly, just take some of the viewers and listeners through, what exactly is obstruction of an official proceeding? When animal rights protesters interrupt a congressional hearing, we don't usually see prosecutions for this type of thing.
Yeah, I ran Justice Kavanaugh's Supreme Court confirmation when I was the chief counsel for nominations on the Senate Judiciary Committee. The proceedings were interrupted for the first 8 minutes, and then every few minutes after that. We did not pursue felony charges against those people. What Jack Smith is trying to do here is he's trying to take an election challenge, which is routine, and try to turn it into a felony to disqualify President Trump from running for office. And that is what you do in Zimbabwe, right? You don't do that in the United States of America. Jack Smith is a political hitman. He is a legal Scud missile who Democrats send in to take out Republican presidential candidates, like Jack Smith did with former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell when he took him out before the 2016 presidential race, when McDonnell could have been a presidential or vice presidential candidate. The Supreme Court reversed Jack Smith 8-0. It would have been 9-0, but Justice Scalia died, but it was several years after the fact. That's the play they're running now. They don't care what happens with the Supreme Court several years from now. They want to take out President Trump for November 7th, 2024.
Right. That's what this is all about. And, many people are talking about, with the D.C. jury, what exactly, are the options here? And can President Trump even get a fair trial in that venue? What are some of the early motions that they can file, on his behalf in his defense?
Yeah, so we have a Garland special counsel. We have an Obama judge who is a left-wing radical who has been unduly harsh on January 6 protesters. And then we have a 95% D.C. Democrat jury pool and 99% Trump deranged. I might be the only Trump supporter left in Washington, D.C. There is no chance President Trump is going to get a fair trial in Washington, D.C. He's going to be found guilty. He's going to be convicted. The D.C. Circuit, which is Obama stacked, will affirm the conviction, and it will take the Supreme Court reversing this probably after the November 2024 presidential election. And that's the play here. Biden, Obama too, really, Biden, Garland, Jack Smith, they don't care about the legal consequences. They care about the political consequences.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And, we see this, it's just no coincidence that it's one thing after the next to cover up what's going on. Anytime there's a development or evidence that comes out about Hunter Biden or Joe Biden, ta-da, surprise, they go ahead and throw out something else against Trump.
Yeah, and they don't even hide it. They literally do it the next day. Hunter Biden gets caught with smoking gun evidence that he was the bag man for the Biden crime family, took up to $40 million that House Oversight Chairman James Comer has been able to locate so far corruptly from China, from Ukraine, from Romania. Who knows where else they've taken money? The President of the United States is clearly compromised, and they are covering this. Merrick Garland is covering this up with this lawfare against Trump.
Yeah, it's really disgraceful, but I'll tell you, and Trump put out a truth saying, all I need is one more indictment to ensure I'm going to win the election, and that's a pretty savage response by him. And I think it's kind of true. It's backfiring in spectacular fashion. People are so frustrated. It's becoming ridiculous. It's one indictment after the next. It's very clear what they're trying to do. And at the same time, cover up and bury the stuff with Hunter and Joe Biden so that news and facts and actual real evidence doesn't breathe. Let's talk about the next steps for House Republicans. I know you tweeted about an appropriations rider relating to federal funding for these sort of investigations. Can you explain more about this? And is this really, the time for House Republicans to impeach?
It is. I always say that the D.C. swamp is the only place on the planet where the reptiles lack backbones. And that has always been the case. House Republicans need to find their backbones right now, because this is so much bigger than President Trump. If these Republicans think that these Marxist Democrats are going away, if President Trump is going away, they are crazy. Just go read 100 years of Marxist history with 100 million deaths. These people are not going away. And I'll say what the House Republicans need to do. They need to start issuing subpoenas now for documents, for oversight hearings, move forward with impeachment on both Biden for his corruption and Garland for covering up for his boss. And then this appropriation rider. Here's the rider. No federal funds may be used for the prosecution of any major presidential candidate on or before November 7th, 2024. Meaning, if Jack Smith wants to pursue this, if Merrick Garland wants to pursue this unprecedented lawfare against a former president and the leading presidential candidate, they can do it after the presidential election. They waited 30 months to bring these charges. There's no hurry now. And I would say this, why don't they want the American people to decide this election? Why do they think that a Garland prosecutor, a DC prosecutor, a DC judge, and a DC jury should decide the next presidential election? Hell no. House Republicans need to step up.
Yeah, they need to step up and shut it down. The American people are watching. They're waiting. They're paying attention. They want to see some action done, because this is outrageous. But they can't just sit there, be like passerby, stand by. Okay, let's just see what happens here. In terms of the timeline with this, a lot of people are really wondering, is this going to, get through before 2024?
I seriously doubt it.
Yeah, I think so.
This case is a legal. It is stupid on its face legally. Factually, it is very complicated. You have a lot of witnesses. You're going to have a lot of documents. There's no chance they're going to get through this case before the presidential election. This is purely about election interference. Jack Smith.
And smearing him.
Yeah, smearing him. Jack Smith is pretending like he wants to have a speedy trial. He doesn't. He wants to drag this out. He'll have a superseding indictment. He'll name the 6 co-conspirators or alleged co-conspirators. He'll add charges like seditious conspiracy. He'll do all this when bad news comes out on Biden, and he'll start
one by one.
Yep, that's exactly
right.
So
let me ask you this: in terms of the exposure, if, for example, by some kangaroo court, the president is convicted of any of this, because I think you and I agree this should be thrown out on a motion to dismiss. I mean, for factually insufficient evidence, but. What do you think about that? How much time realistically are we looking at, and do you think then if there was convictions, sentencing, take us through the actual impact and the pathway?
Yeah, I mean, the pathway is we have the arraignment today. You're going to have discovery. You're going to have motions practice where you're trying to get this thing kicked on the motions. You're going to have subpoenas issued. You're going to have pretrial hearings. I mean, this is at least going to take a year to get to a plausible trial date, but that's not even going to be plausible because remember, we have Alvin Bragg's trial. We have
Yes.
Jack Smith's trial down in Florida. You have you're going to have Fannie Willis's trial down in Georgia. You're going to have a fraud civil trial, maybe against Trump
Yeah.
for up with Tish James in New York. This is lawfare to try to hobble the Trump political operation, the Trump presidency,
And the momentum, but he keeps gaining, momentum on this. If people see it, they see what's happening here. It's absolutely outrageous. I mean, the Clintons can do whatever they want, the Obamas, the Bidens, but, all like laser sights are focused, on President Trump. But the exposure here in terms of the potential sentencing is quite extreme.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking at conspiracy against rights. We're talking decades in prison if this D.C. judge, this Obama judge, and this Trump-deranged D.C. jury finds him guilty and convicts him, which they very well could be. Look, at the end of the day, Kimberly, how this is going to be resolved, this is going to be resolved on November 7th, 2024, when the American people vote to put President Trump back in the White House, and then this all goes away.
And then what? Realistically, how does it go away? If he's convicted, he pardons himself, because there's a lot of speculation about this.
You can have his acting attorney general motion to dismiss with prejudice, pardon, whatever the hell it takes. This is lawfare. People see right through this. They know this is political. The American people, if you look at the polling, they know this is political. They know this is nonsense. This is not legitimate. Jack Smith has a track record for being a political hitman. This is not going to fly with the American people, and we need to make sure that we stay strong with President Trump.
Absolutely. God bless. Well, thank you for that expert analysis. Mike Davis, always a pleasure to have you on the program. Can't wait to have you back on again